Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. Welcome back to the Old Republic, and this is a low-level combat overview of the Sith Sorcerer, the advanced class of the Sith Inquisitor. One of two, in fact. This one is focused primarily on spell casting, as you might imagine, whereas the Sith Assassin is focused primarily on things that are not spell casting, although spells are still part of his repertoire, one way or the other. So, allow me to demonstrate what the Sith Sorcerer is all about. Get the lightsaber out there. Ah, excellent. Looks like my companion has come back after selling a bunch of junk for me. Very kind of it. It's one of the neat features of companions in this game. Unfortunately, it looks like our targets are about to get slaughtered, but I'm sure we can find some more. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. Anyway, allow me to show you some abilities and things like that. And as with the Guardian that I showed earlier, there are certain abilities you get immediately upon starting off with this advanced class that kind of define the class, as it were. So let's have a look at it. The biggest thing that defines this class is this, Forced Attunement. That is a massive force increase, because if I recall correctly, you had about 100 force when you got to this point. And you then get it increased by 400, so it's a massive increase, and obviously that allows you to do an awful lot of casting. That's exactly what it's supposed to be as well. You do still have some melee attacks. You're not completely reliant on spellcasting at this point, but spellcasting is going to be where most of your main damage comes from. You also gain this Lightning Strike, which is very much a primary nuke here, and that's... stick it on number 1, because why not? That's where a lot of your damage is going to be coming from. A couple of passives come in as well, which is quite nice. For instance, this one increases the range of a lot of your lightning-based spells and things like that, as well as increases the duration of Whirlwind, which is a hard crowd control. It's basically polymorph, only it doesn't heal the target anywhere near as quickly. Lifebinder also means you can get a massive cooldown reduction on revive. Pretty much everyone has this, but you can just revive whenever you want, so that's pretty handy. We've also got a dark heal here, as you can see, which is, well, healing. Sorcerer has options as regards to what you want to do with him, or her. So we'll have a look at skill trees very briefly. I'm not going to cover this in great detail. This is going to be in a future video when I have a better understanding of it. So... this is kind of your healing tree right here, Corruption. That's going to be what you want to put points in if you're going to go down the support tree. The shared tree for both of the Sith Advanced classes is Madness, which allows all sorts of different additions there. You're going to want to dip into this quite heavily. Indeed, there are plenty of builds that use Madness as a primary tree. And then Lightning is your damage tree. So a lot of upgrades for that kind of thing. And this, for instance, seems nice. Reserves increase your total force by 50. That said, at this point, I haven't really found me running out of force quickly, so I have to wonder as to whether or not that really matters all that much at this stage. It's probably vital for later and endgame stuff, however. All right, let's try and find some enemies. Unfortunately, we've had a guy who's been slaughtering absolutely everything around here. He wasn't here 5 minutes ago, but it's okay. We found ourselves a vicious vine cat. That should do the job. Alright, so I'll show you some basic spells. I'm going to be clicking a lot of these so that you can pause the video and see their exact effects. It's probably a good idea for those of you who are interested in that. And my companion, I just want to make sure my companion is set on passive and is not going to get in the way, chop his way through things. He's an ugly little bastard, isn't he? Alright, primary nuke, Lightning Strike. Alright, here we go. So there's your Lightning Strike, as you can see. Will you quit it? Yes. I'm actually going to end up letting him die at this point. I better take some aggro. Alright. Okay, so Force Lightning right here. Channeled Force ability. Has a fairly short cooldown on it. Does 400 damage. Also slows the target as they're coming at you. But of course, being a channeled ability, it can be interrupted. Now, you do also have some melee abilities here. Thrash, which is a double strike, and then Saber Strike. Saber Strike takes no force, so if you just want to smack away with your Saber, you can do that. Now, if you want to get out of an area, there's a couple of ways of doing that. Whirlwind is, as I said, your big, hard crowd control. Now, that will give me the opportunity to use Dark Heal on myself, get things back up. Dark Heal, as you can see right there. Now, you'll also notice that the target is regaining health quite slowly. It's not a huge deal. So you can easily then break him out of that. So unlike, say, Polymorph in World of Warcraft, you can use that to back away if you so desire. Alternatively, you can just keep smacking away, and there are some instant attacks you can use as well, and I'm going to use in a moment. I like the fact that there is a little bit of variation. It's not just sitting there spamming. You can get in close. While it's not necessarily optimal, it's nice that they've designed skills around that. Alright, let's go find another Shadow Cat, and I can show you some of the other more cooldown-based abilities that you have at your disposal. You have a number of stuns that are on cooldowns, Bear in mind, this is, of course, at level 11. This is a low-level combat overview, and will give you an impression of the kind of thing you can expect after a few hours of playing this game. All right, so you've got Electrocute here. 1 minute cooldown, 30-meter range, and that's a 4-second stun. You've also got Shock. Now, both of these are instant. That one's only got a 6-second cooldown. It does use a lot of force, bear that in mind. So, not necessarily something you can spam in a long fight. But standard and weak targets will be stunned for 3 seconds here as well. So, let's get in range. So there you can see that stun going off there. And we can apply another stun. And then if we go for a lightning strike and then a force lightning. I'd probably opening up with a lightning strike and then a force lightning seems to be a fairly sensible way of doing it. Needless to say, this combat wouldn't be so much of a big deal if I was using my companion, because my companion can tank for me and can take aggro, and I shouldn't be taking these kind of hits. Yeah, but I'm just showing this for demonstration value, and I can activate the companion a little bit later on to give you an impression of how the tanking works. Alright, let's go and try and find ourselves another enemy. There should be one around here somewhere. Incidentally, this is quite a pretty area, as you can see. I think anyone that really has doubts about the graphical fidelity of this game kind of needs to have a look at this, because it's a good game looks-wise, and while the characters look a bit plasticky, the environment art is really good. And the sheer scale of everything as well. You've got a big view distance, much more so than WoW. Alright, you know what? It's time for you to get tanky, sir. So you best get to fighting. There you go. That should keep him interested for a while. What I can do, if I want, is I could just dark heal my companion over and over again. Just target him, make sure he gets the heals. There you go. And then he could just deal with this. But he's got to keep the aggro. No problem at all. And then you can unleash with pretty much whatever the hell you please, quite frankly. Now, there are a couple of other things that you can look at. This is quite interesting. I like the fact that Sith just do this. Their recovery ability is called Seethe. Basically, you pace around being really emo, and that allows you to regain your power in the Force. Also, for some reason, you get painted in what appears to be some kind of metallic red, which might be stylish for your car, but not so much for a Sith, I tend to find. Alright, this guy's a little bit tougher by the looks of it, so our companion can go and deal with him. Off you go. Needless to say, you're going to be wanting to bind these to keys. I'm just showing you this so that you can pause and have a look at the abilities. Now, you do also have an area of effect ability. There's lots of other stuff that you can get later on in the game, and if I shift one, then I can do that as well, which actually has a knockback. There's quite a few knockbacks in this game. I do like that. Gives the combat a bit more of a kinetic feel. There you go. Slightly tougher, but not by much. Nothing our companion can't deal with. And there we go. That's the basics of it. Only other thing you really need to consider is there is a breakout ability. This is pretty much for every class. Unbreakable Will is the Sith version. It's like the Trinket in World of Warcraft PvP. It breaks you out of incapacitating stuff, and you can do that every 2 minutes. So everyone has one of those by default. It's not a piece of equipment or anything like that. You just have it available to you. Now, the one last thing that I haven't shown you is Recklessness. So Recklessness is a buff ability that will increase the critical strike chance of direct attacks and heals by 60%, and also increases the range of your Force Lightning. Yeah. Now, every time you use an ability, it loses one of those. So it's a nice little cooldown-based ability that can buff things up a little bit. So let's get out of range. We're just going to back off deliberately here. I don't know. I mean, the weird thing about this is that it says it increases it to 30 meters. It already has a range of 30 meters. So I have to wonder if they just haven't updated the tooltip properly, because one of the passives you do get as a Sith Sorcerer is the ability to have a higher range. So let's see if that increases it. And in fact, it does not. So I have to wonder if that's just an effect that works if you're not going Sith Sorcerer. But you do get crit chance. So I can hit him like a truck and then use up those two. And then zappy, zappy, zappy with the Force Lightning there. And he doesn't stand a chance. Definitely prefer this class, honestly, to the Jedi Guardian. Again, I think the melee classes for lightsaber-wielding archetypes just aren't quite as interesting. Things like Lightning Strike, things like all of the spells that I've got available to me, and things like all the explosive stuff I have available as a smuggler, an Imperial agent, a bounty hunter, or a trooper. Those interest me more. But it is going to come down to simple personal preference. Personally, I think zapping things with lightning is kind of neat. It's not the only way to do damage. You can sort of do Warlock-style DPS with a lot of curses and things like that. So it's not all just about throwing lightning, but that is an option. Ooh, something that requires archaeology. You can gather some resources here if I so desire. But that's not what we're going to focus on here. So yeah, that's the Sith Sorcerer, and obviously the Jedi Consular's DPS tree is fairly similar in terms of how it operates. There are some small differences. Something that you do need to bear in mind is that the classes in this game, and the advanced classes, are very much equivalent to each other, and there are a lot of similarities, mechanical similarities all over the place. There are some minor differences here and there, but their reasoning for that was we want the classes to be balanced, so we're pretty much going to make them very, very similar, but they're going to look and feel different, and obviously the storylines are going to be different as well. There you go, folks. Sith Sorcerer, a basic combat overview at level 11. I'll continue to try and level characters up to this level so that I can show you a wide variety of basic combat, and later on, when I have a greater understanding of it, I'll be talking in depth about talent trees and things like that. My name is TotalBiscuit, and I shall see you next time. Perhaps we should do a little cheer here. Why not? He's not that enthusiastic. I'm sorry.